Hey guys, welcome back to Film Freaks. I'm Megan, and today I'm going to be breaking down M. Night Shyamalan's apocalyptic drama, Knock at the Cabin, which I believe is streaming exclusively on Peacock right now, so if you have that, definitely give this one a watch. Before we get started, please be sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss videos like this one or the little shorts that I've been making of just movie recommendations. Again, like I said last time, I get that trying to find something to watch can be a pain, so hopefully those suggestions are helping you guys out. All right, I think we're ready to get started. So the movie starts out with a little girl named Wen who is sitting in the woods collecting grasshoppers in a jar. She's approached by a man who later we find out his name is Leonard, and he's trying to talk to her. At first she's a little bit hesitant because he's a stranger, but he gains her trust. He's very, very kind, and they begin talking. He finds out that she has two dads, Daddy Eric and Daddy Andrew. He asks her if that's hard, and she says, I'm the only one I know that has two dads, but it doesn't bother her. She just shows that she loves them so much. And even though she doesn't really know anybody else that has two dads, it doesn't bother her. And so then they start playing a game, and they pull flower petals off of a flower, and for every petal pulled, they get to ask each other a question. When it's his turn, he asks her about the scar on her lip. And at first she seems a little bit hurt by it, and he apologizes and says, I shouldn't have asked you that. And she says, no, it's okay. I had a cleft lip when I was little, and I had all these surgeries and it fixed it. And from this point, he says, I too have a scar, but you can't see it. I have a scar on my heart for what I'm going to have to ask you all to do. And he turns and he sees that 3 more people are walking towards them. Wen asks if they're his friends, and he says, no, they're more like coworkers. You're my friend, Wen. No matter what, I just want you to remember you are my friend. So she gets up. She's a little bit hesitant now, like what's really going on? And he tells her that, I am so sorry for what we have to ask you and your dads to do. You will have to make a choice. And, when we knock, you need to tell your daddies to answer the door. Otherwise, we're going to have to find a way in. So she goes inside, and she's very scared at this point. And she tells her dads what happened, that there's this guy out there and 3 other people are coming. And, they look at her, they don't really believe her, which I think is understandable because they're supposed to be out in the middle of nowhere right now. But then all of a sudden, of course, there's the knock at the cabin. So Leonard is telling through the door, like, I met your daughter. She's very sweet. You guys have just done a great job raising her. We need to come in. We need to talk to you. So, of course, they're not letting them in. And then all of a sudden they start trying to get through the door. They're trying the knob. They're breaking windows, all this stuff. And eventually they get inside, and Eric is fighting with who we find out her name is Sabrina. And she... I don't know if she hits him or something, but either way, he falls down and he hits his head really hard. And immediately she goes to try to check on him. You can tell she's really concerned about him. Just as he's fallen, we see another man come through the door. His name, we find out, is Redmond, and Andrew starts fighting him and beats him up pretty good. But when he turns around, he sees that he's basically cornered at this point. The other 3 have him surrounded. And all of a sudden it just goes to a flashback of Andrew and Eric sitting down at a table with what we find out are Andrew's parents, and they are just very cold, very disconnected. When they leave, Andrew says, they drove 7 hours to stay 45 minutes, and you can just tell that they're not approving of their relationship. And Eric just tells him, you know what, it doesn't matter, basically. It's me and you, and that's all that matters. So next we see Eric and Andrew tied up, and they all reassure them that this has nothing to do with them being gay. It's like, that's kind of just like, in the beginning, just even when Leonard asks about Wen's family, and she mentions that she has 2 dads, he just has this look of like, oh no. And, you come to realize it's because he didn't want them to think that this was a targeted attack. So they keep trying to reassure them, this has nothing to do with you guys being gay. Like, it has nothing to do with that. So then they each step forward and tell a little bit about themselves. Sabrina tells them that she's a nurse, that she has a half sister. Adrian tells them that she's a sous chef. Leonard says, he's a 2nd grade teacher and volunteers for an after-school program. And then Redmond gets up, and he's very hesitant to really participate in this. He's just more hostile than the others, but eventually says, he's done a little bit of time, but he's rehabilitated. So then Leonard goes on to explain why they're there. which is to stop the apocalypse. He tells them that between the three of them, Eric, Andrew, and Wen, one of them must choose to be sacrificed to save all of humanity, and that they cannot choose to kill themselves, that the four of them cannot choose for them and cannot kill the person either, that this has to be a choice and one of them has to kill the other. So then Leonard tells them that if they do not choose, that there will be a terrible plague, there will be fires, the earth will be swallowed up by water, and then eventually it will be total darkness. He says that for every no you give us, a plague will be unleashed upon the world. So of course they say no. They don't believe them at all. They just think they're a bunch of crazy people. So of course they say no, and then Redmond steps forward and he says, I am really scared right now. No matter what happens, don't turn away from me. Look at me. And he puts the white hood on and he says, part of humanity has been judged. And then Leonard, Sabrina, and Adrian use these weapons that they made and brought with them to kill Redmond. And they have like a visceral reaction to it. I mean, I think Leonard like throws up. Like they're obviously like, this is something that clearly bothers them, that they're not comfortable doing. Once Redmond is killed, there's an instant flashback of when Eric and Andrew went to get Wen from the adoption agency, and it just shows how much they loved her, and just an incredible moment of when they first met her and were able to take her home. So then we see Leonard turn the news on, and it's just of devastating tsunamis and tidal waves, just destroying parts of the world. And he and the other two, Sabrina and Adrian, are almost shocked while watching this because they're like, oh my God, our visions are actually coming true. This is exactly what I saw. And, of course, Andrew's like, this is total bullshit. We don't believe you. You guys are somehow like, you rigged our television so that it would show this. Like, he's just not believing what's going on, understandably so. So then Leonard tells them that in the morning they will be asked to choose again. And Andrew tells them the answer will always be no. And you see this like look on Eric's face, just kind of like he's just sort of dazing out, but then, you just kind of chalk it up to the concussion that he had. And it shoots to another flashback of Eric, Andrew, and Wen driving to the cabin, and it's just a really sweet moment where Eric turns on the song and they're dancing, and it just shows how much they love each other when they first got there, how happy they all were. So I really feel like it's to show like the evolution of the family that they've created up until this point. So then we see Sabrina in the bathroom helping Eric. Again, she said she was a nurse, so she's trying to help him by bandaging his head. And while they're talking, she lets him know, like, I know you think I'm some crazy religious freak, but I'm telling you right now, this is real. You have to believe us. I haven't even been to church in forever. Like, she's just really trying to let him know, like, this is for real. Like, this is the real deal. So then when Eric and Sabrina come out of the bathroom, Andrew is telling all of them that Redmond is the man that had years prior attacked him at a bar for being gay. And it had traumatized him for years, and he is sure that that's Redmond. Basically, he thinks that that's why they're all here, that they knew Redmond, and that, this is definitely a planned attack because Redmond went to jail because of that. But they assure him, they're like, no, it couldn't have been him. Or even if it was, that's not, that's not why we're here. That's not what brought us here. And then Adrian steps up and says, okay, it's my turn now. And tells them a little bit more about her, including that she has a son. And she asks them, or tries to reiterate, like, this is real. We're really counting on you here. I want my son to live. I don't want to see the world end. Again, they say, no, we're not doing it. So she says the same thing Redmond said. Part of the world has been judged, puts the white hood on, and she is killed as well. After that, you see on the news that there is a virus that went around and it's been killing all these children, and that it's mainly only affecting kids, and it is incredibly contagious. When we see the news, Eric is, again, just kind of dazing out, and he tells them, I saw something earlier. I saw a vision earlier. And Andrew looks at him and then looks at Leonard and Sabrina and says, you are only to talk to me from now on. Because, again, he thinks that the concussion is sort of just making him a little bit more loopy, a little bit more susceptible to their lies. Earlier, before Adrian had been killed, she had made eggs for Wen and was just talking to her and very sweet with her. And when she cleared her plate, Wen had held on to a knife, and she slipped it to Eric with his hands tied behind his back. And he tells her, when if you see me nod my head, I want you to do what you did at Thanksgiving. So then Eric nods, and Wen starts having a total meltdown. It distracts Sabrina and Leonard. Leonard's trying to calm her down, and then Eric uses the knife to break free, and then he, distracts them as well. And while he does this, Andrew is able to break free and sneak to the car where he has a gun. And just as he's about to get into the car, Sabrina hits him on the knees, and he falls. And she says, "I hit you on the knees just so you couldn't run away. I'm not trying to hurt you, but I need you to not run away." He throws dirt in her eye, and he's able to make it inside of his truck. He grabs the gun, and he shoots at her, but he doesn't shoot her. He shoots at her and tells her, "Drop your weapon and go." So he goes back inside, and he sees that Leonard and Eric are kind of having like a scuffle, but talking. And, Leonard can hear Andrew come in. He looks behind him, and Leonard tells them, "I think you were chosen because of how pure your love is. I think that's why God chose you for this." Just as he's saying this, Sabrina comes running in, and she's screaming to try to warn him. And then you see Andrew turn and shoot her. Just as he shoots her, it does another flashback to the bar, to the night of when Andrew was attacked. So we see Redmond approach him. Again, you can't really tell if it's him or not. He's got like a beard, like a full beard, and it just doesn't really show his face completely, but you can sort of tell that it's him. And he beats him up. Again, this is definitely a attack because he's gay. So he beats him up, and it shows the trauma that he went through, the therapy, the training, the preparing, which eventually led him to getting a gun so that way he could protect himself. So it shows everything that led up to this moment where he shoots Sabrina, basically. So then the next thing we see is Sabrina laying down on the floor. She's bleeding. She has the white hood over her face, and Leonard says, "Part of humanity has been judged," and he kills her. Next, he turns on the news, and you see that all these planes are crashing down everywhere. So, fire is now engulfing the earth with all these explosions, and it's just plane after plane after plane. While the news report is playing, Leonard is saying in unison what the news anchor is saying, and this sort of just shows like he has seen this vision so many times that he knows exactly what is going to be said, what's going to happen. Like, this is ingrained in his mind. So Eric is sort of at this point pleading with Andrew to accept, that this is the reality, that this is really happening, which Andrew is refusing to do. So Leonard tells them, "I want you to come outside with me on the deck. I want to do this last part outside." So he tells them, "When this is over, when I'm dead, you are only going to have minutes to decide, and then it will be too late." So he asks them again to choose. They won't choose. So he uses his weapon, slits his throat, and dies. And then all of a sudden, the sky turns black. And before all this had happened, as soon as they go outside, Eric had told Wen to go into her treehouse and put her headphones on so that way she wouldn't have to see any of this. So all of a sudden the skies turn black, and Eric tells Andrew, "I am at peace with this. I know it's going to be okay. I saw a vision of you and Wen, and she was happy, and she owned her own practice, and you two were going out to dinner, and she's fallen in love with somebody that loves her so much as I love you." And, he just tells him, like, "Do it. Please do this now while I have this in my head. I'm at total peace." And then the camera goes to the skies turning black. You hear a gunshot, and then Andrew crying over Eric. It doesn't show anything of him. It's just his legs that you see, but you see that, you definitely know that he's gone. So then Andrew goes to where Wen is in the treehouse, and she says, "Did Daddy Eric save everyone?" And he said yes, and the two of them are just, kind of holding each other and crying. So then they're in the car and they're driving, and you see that the skies are now just full of sunshine, that, the storm had stopped, and they go to a diner to see if anybody's still there. And there's all these people inside, and they're watching the news, and on the news you see that the infection has slowed down, that there haven't been any more deaths, that the planes have stopped falling, and the waters have receded from the flood. You hear a waitress on the phone with somebody, and she's just saying, I love you, everything's going to be okay." And then Wen and Andrew get in the car to leave again, and the song plays that Eric had played earlier, and you know, they drive off, and that's how it ends. So I think with this movie, any M. Night Shyamalan movie, you're waiting for the twist at the end. And with this one, I think the big twist is that there really was no twist, that it was real, that this really happened. I will say that in the beginning, the very, very beginning, when Leonard is talking to Wen, again, I thought when she said that she had two dads, that this was going to be an attack because she has gay parents. Nothing to do with that. If anything, it was like, yeah, no, that has nothing to do with this at all. It just happens to be like, not only are you in the cabin, but you also happen to be gay. Like, it's not a big deal at all. Nothing to do with this. Which I think was very, very cool. The fact that, you know, Andrew had thought all this time that they were targeted and then learned like, yeah, no, it's nothing to do with that. So I thought that was really cool how that was done. And again, you know, the fact that this was not, there was no big twist other than the fact that there really was going to be an apocalypse. I think that throughout the movie, you're sort of wondering, is it real? Is it not? Again, with M. Night Shyamalan, you never know how the movie is going to end. There's usually always some big reveal. So of course, the four characters of Sabrina, Leonard, Redmond, and Adrian represent the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Eric at one point tells Andrew that the four of them came to represent all of humanity, with Redmond being malice, Adrian being nurturing, Sabrina being healing, and Leonard being guidance. So they all represented each part of humanity. I thought Dave Bautista did an incredible job as Leonard. He was just so sweet, so kind, and he's such like a big guy. I mean, he was a wrestler. He's tattooed from head to toe, but he just played this character he was just so kind. So he did an absolute amazing job. And I even heard him talking in like interviews and things where he wanted to get into acting for just acting. He didn't care about the money or anything like that. He just really wanted to act. And when he read this script, he knew he had to do this. He was a little overwhelmed at how much dialogue there was, but he knew that he could do this, and he did an awesome job. Of course, M. Night Shyamalan's in a little blib of it. He's always, you know, it's like a Where's Waldo moment of where he's going to be. He played right before they turned on the first news, right before they turned on the first news story in the beginning. He was in an infomercial about like some kind of cookware or something. So he does play a little small role in this one as well. But overall, I thought this was a really great movie. I think they did a fantastic job with portraying the four horsemen as far as representing all the parts of humanity. And again, you could just really tell that they were dreading doing this, but they wanted to save humanity. So like the big question in this movie is, would you save the people that you love, or would you save all of humanity? Like, what would you choose to do? So again, I thought they did a great job. I really enjoyed this. If you have Peacock, I would definitely watch this. Peacock actually has really good movies. We just recently got it, and I've been pretty impressed so far. All right, so that's it for my Knock at the Cabin movie breakdown. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Have you seen this one? And what is your favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie? I feel like this one hit a little bit differently, a little bit more emotionally. It didn't have the same feel as his other movies, but I did really, really enjoy it. So let me know what you think. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure you hit that like and subscribe button before you leave so you never miss another video. Bye, film freaks.